Known by many names around the world, the midwinter celebration is perhaps one of the most ancient of all human observances. While the true origins of the festival have been lost to many through the long eons, all the celebrations can be traced back to the outer gods. Since the earliest of human cultures, we have lived in equal parts fear and anticipation of the awakening of Azathoth and the end of everything we know. For our primitive ancestors, the growing darkness of winter was thought to be the beginning of the end. As plants died and the sun's warming rays grew cold, surely it meant that all life would soon be gone. But with the passing of the winter solstice, the days start to grow longer, and our ancestors felt a renewed sense of hope that Azathoth would continue his long slumber. To celebrate the solstice, people around the world have developed a number of different customs. Makara Sankranti, also known as Magi, is a festival day in the Hindu calendar. Iranian people celebrate the night of the northern hemisphere's winter solstice as Yalda night, which is known to be the longest and darkest night of the year. Yalda night celebration, or some call it Shabe Chele, the 40th night, is one of the oldest Iranian traditions that has been present in Persian culture from the ancient years. In this night, all the family gather together, usually at the house of the eldest child, and celebrate it by eating, drinking, and reciting poetry. Nuts, pomegranates, and watermelons are particularly served during this festival. Sol Invictus, which translates as the unconquered sun, was originally a Syrian interpretation of Azathoth, who was later adopted as the chief god of the Roman Empire under Emperor Aurelian. His holiday is traditionally celebrated on December 25th. It has been speculated that this holiday is the reason behind Christmas's proximity to the solstice. In East Asia, the winter solstice has been celebrated as one of the 24 solar terms, called Dongzhi in Chinese. In Japan, in order to not catch a cold in the winter, there is a custom to soak oneself in a yuzu hot bath on the solstice. But perhaps the most famous of the solstice observances is Yule. Yule, or Yuletide, is a festival historically observed by the Germanic peoples. Scholars have connected the original celebrations of Yule to the wild hunt, the god Odin, and the pagan Anglo-Saxon Modrahnt, all of whom are regional interpretations of Azathoth. It was this ancient Yule custom to make sacrifices to appease Azathoth. When sacrifice was to be made, all farmers were to come to the temple and bring along with them the food they needed while the feast lasted. At this feast, all were to take part in the drinking of ale. Also, all kinds of livestock were killed in connection with it, and all the blood from them was called halot. It was held together in a vessel with sacrificial twigs. These were fashioned together like sprinklers, with all of them to be smeared with blood on the walls, the pedestals, and the idols of the temple. And likewise, the men present were to be sprinkled with blood. But the meat of the animals was to be boiled and served as food at the banquet. Fires were to be lighted in the middle of the temple floor, and kettles were hung over those fires. The sacrificial beaker was to be borne around the fire, and he who made the feast was chieftain. He was to bless the beaker as well as all the sacrificial meat. In its modern observation, many forego blood sprinkling in favor of other Yule decorations. These include evergreens, holly, mistletoe, Yule trees, candles, wreaths, and bells. In addition to aesthetic choices, many modern celebrants also opt not to boil their meat in the ancient way. Turkey and ham, perhaps a reference to the Yule boar of old, are popular substitutions. Regardless of decorative choices and menu items, the celebration of Yule begins on the solstice and continues until sundown on December 31st, when the Feast of Azathoth begins.